What is going on, everyone? We're back again with another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to hit MLB The Show 25. And in this current matchup, I got Kyle Tucker at the plate, and we got Garrett Cole on the mound. And we're going to be going over some basics real quick. Now, first of all, we want to go into our settings. The settings is one of the most important things to talk about. Let's go to the hitting settings right here. And obviously, we're going to use the PCI, right? That's the main hitting setting we're going to use. I pretty much keep everything the same. I have circles on, and I literally just changed it to ocean. So that's the only different thing I have when it comes to hitting. So as you guys can see, this is what it looks like in game. I got, just the ocean on, 70% opacity. I don't really change any of the settings. So that's what it's going to look like. So that's what I have it set on. If you guys want to, make it whatever preference you guys want, totally fine. It's really up to you, whatever you want your personal preference to be. Now, when it comes to the camera view, that is something else. We got to dive into the settings. So we can go over to the camera, and then we got our hitting view. I've been using strike zone 2. I've been liking a lot, and then I go in play view as my medium. So I'm pretty sure medium is the normal setting, to be honest. But yeah, strike zone 2 is one of my favorites. You can obviously change it to anyone you want, but I think it gives you the best competitive advantage, at least looking at the strike zone. Honestly, any of the strike zones, I think it's 3, 2, or 1. Like, they all are pretty good. Now let's actually go into the hitting. Now they have added a couple new things with hitting this year, which is obviously ambush hitting, right? I mean, this is the new thing. As you guys can see on the bottom, you can ambush the left or right side of the plate, the in or outside part of the plate. And then you can also reset it by pressing R3, which is pretty cool. Now, when I've used this ambush hitting, I really do think at least from what I've seen, a lot of people like to ambush the inside part of the plate, which is definitely something is going to help you out a lot. But in my opinion, I definitely like the feature. I think it's a cool addition. Will I think it'd be useful? I think yes. I think it'll be useful in a lot of certain scenarios. Like if you have one pitcher that constantly throwing inside you, he throws inside you all the time, then you can just set up inside and ambush him. And what ambush does, if you guys don't know, you pick one part of the plate, and then you get a better timing window, and your PCI gets a little bit bigger when you hit that ball. So you got a more likelihood of getting a hit when that ball is on that side of the plate. Now, if you try to hit on the other side of the plate, you have a decreased timing window, and also your PCI is a little bit smaller. And then if it's like in the middle, if you pick one of the sides, it pretty much stays the same for the most part. So that's something else you gotta think about. So I definitely think it's gonna be a useful feature for many players, especially if you have a guy that's consistently throwing in one spot. Because if I have a guy that's consistently throwing inside fastballs, I can just ambush and set up inside part of the play and kind of just wait for him to throw it and absolutely kill that pitch. So I think that is when ambush hitting is gonna be the best. Now, when you're in a count, I feel like, everyone was saying if you're 0-2 count, you might not want to ambush because you have a decreased chance on the other side of the plate. I think that makes sense. I feel like most people would agree with that. But it's really up to you how you want to use the ambush hitting. I think for the first pitch, I think it's a great way to do it. Just see what he throws. Also, you don't have to use it, so that is something else to think about. But I think it's just really personal preference. If you really know someone's pitching one side of the plate better, then I would just set up there more often, you know what I mean? So that is what I would say about ambush hitting. Definitely think it's beneficial to the hitter for sure. But you also got to make sure you know how to use it in certain situations and things like that. Now, going to actually hitting fundamentals, we still have, the little 9 dots on the wheel to set up your PCI in a certain spot. So as you guys can see, if I move, to the upper right, I'm going to start in the upper right. If I move to the middle, I'm going to start in the middle. I personally, when it comes to these buttons and everything, I just always keep it middle. I've never really wanted to set up in a certain spot. Because if I want to set up in the zone, then I'll just move my PCI up like this, you know what I mean? Or I'll move it down like this, or to the side, or to the other side. To me, it's not a big deal. I know some people have a personal preference on that. I just keep it in the middle and kind of keep doing what I need to do. Because I'm setting up on an inside fastball or something like that, I'm just going to put my PCI on an inside fastball. Either right here middle, up here up, or even here down. I'm just going to put my PCI there, you know what I mean? Now, it comes to hitting, I think the biggest thing is pitch recognition. If you can identify the pitches, that's going to help you out a lot. And then the best way to do this is just playing the game, honestly. You got to be able to identify where the strike zone is and ends and what pitches are coming. That's going to be the biggest thing when it comes to you. Like, there's a fastball right down the middle, smoke that pitch, right? So that is going to be the biggest thing when it comes to hitting. You got to identify the strike zone. Now, I know some people use stadiums. So, for example, you can see the end of the strike zone is kind of where that MLB shop is right there in center field. Some people like to do stuff like that to try to identify where the strike zone is and ends. But you should also just know where it is because you're not going to be home all the time. So, identify where it ends, right? So that's something you got to get used to. It's different for every player because obviously different players are taller and smaller. So for a guy like Altuve, pretty small strike zone, right? It's might be a lot easier to hit with him. I know I struggle with some of the bigger players like Judge and Stan just because their PCI is very large. And you gotta scroll a lot to get to some of those pitches, especially on a 2-strike count. So that's where it's nice to just set up. I know a lot of people do this, obviously in ranked and stuff. You just kind of set up if you want inside part or inside pitch on inside part of the plate. If you don't get that pitch, you don't swing regardless of the count. Maybe if you got 2 strikes, a little bit different, but I normally just set up inside, right? We just wait for an inside pitch. We get the inside pitch, and then we rip on it. You know what I mean? And that was a bad pitch because it was outside the zone, for example. But that's basically what I try to do when I hit. Unless it's just one that's, drastically over the plate. Then you can just, swing for it. Even though I like to just set up because it's harder for me to flick to a certain pitch, in my opinion. Like, sometimes I can get it right, but most of the time I'm under it like that. So it's just easier for me to just set up on a certain part of the plate. Especially when you have ambush, this is going to be a lot easier. It's going to deter you from trying to hit that pitch on the other side of the plate. That's going to be hard to flick on, especially if you're trying to hit like a curveball or something. It's very easy to get on top of it or even get way under it. So it's easier to just set up on inside part of the plate. You're going to identify the strike zone better. And honestly, it's just going to be a lot easier to hit, I feel like, than if you're just scrambling the PCI like this and you don't really know where you're going, you know what I mean? So that's how I would say to hit. Honestly, just try to set up on a certain part of the zone, a pitch you really like. Like for me, an high inside fastball is a pitch I always destroy on. So if I really want that, we're just gonna set up inside, wait to see if I get that pitch, you know what I mean? And if I don't get that, then we're just not gonna swing. And where you can flick like that, like I just did, even though it was still a bad one, technically got a hit on it. But yeah, that's how I would try to hit in MLB The Show 25. Set up on a certain side that you like. Like I know for me, when I have a righty, I usually set up outside compared to a lefty, where I'm more setting up inside. So that is something to think about as well when you're playing. It's going to be pretty situational on what you're going to want to do with what he's throwing. Where is he throwing with ambush, right? Who's at the dish for you? If it's a righty, lefty, right? I think the best part of getting better at this game is you just got to play and kind of just feel out how pitches are, how they work. Because a fastball, pretty standard, goes right there. Slider's going to have some movement. Curveball's going to have a lot of movement. The off-speed pitches you might want to practice on. And we are in custom practice. That's basically what I'm doing. Unfortunately, with custom practice, you can't, go to Diamond Dynasty and use the certain cards. You just kind of have the normal cards that are in a franchise and all the offline stats. But if you're really struggling on a pitch, you can definitely go into here and just have him repeat that pitch, which I think is really cool about the custom practice feature, because we can go ahead, pause, go to practice type, go to batting. We got Garrett Cole, say I just want his fastball, right? So we'll increase that, move these all the way down. And then if I press RB, we can say where we want it, which is really cool. So I can go here, or I can press just high, will be all the high ones. If you want to identify the strike zone, I think it's a good way to do it. Let's just do this, for example. So we know it's going to be a high fastball, so we want to make sure we don't swing outside the zone. I think it's a key part. That's really good for identifying the strike zone as well. It's kind of an underrated thing, but I think it's really important. So we're going to kind of wait for our pitch and make sure we get the right one that we want. That's in the zone. On the other side of the plate, kind of missed it a little bit. That's just the way it crumbles. You just got to get better at the game. And it's still early days in MLB The Show 25. This game literally just came out. So I'm not expecting everyone to master it, right? These are some basics for players that, might not be familiar with MLB The Show. That this might be their first game. They haven't played the games in the past, so they don't know a lot of the features, right? So those are my fundamentals, I think, when it comes to hitting in Diamond Dynasty. Make sure your settings are right with your PCI and hitting view. Then you want to know how to ambush right. Now, if you're new and you don't really want to use the ambush, you don't have to, so that is another factor. Then you want to just identify the strike zone, identify pitches, make sure they're in the strike zone, identify the strike zone, and just play and get better. You honestly get pretty good just by just playing offline because you're easier difficulty, right? It's not going to be as hard. And you're going to be in all different situations as well, which is going to help you out a lot. And then when you get online, you're going to be playing an all-star difficulty, and then you'll play through there up to Hall of Fame, Legend, and all that stuff. Well, that being said, this is kind of my beginner's guide on how to hit for people that really have not played the show games before. If this was helpful to you guys all, make sure you guys let me know in the comment section down below if you got any questions. Obviously, please let me know. I would love to help you guys out a lot. With that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everyone.